guys, we are back with Let's Talk Battlefield on Twitch. Oh, wait, wrong button, guys. Really fast. Alright, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Let's Talk Battlefield episode 16 called CTE Changes. I'm your host, Echo Limits, EKOLIMITS, and with me today I have Flakfire.
Hey everyone, it's Flakfire. If you enjoy historical Battlefield videos, you can of course check me out on youtube.com/FlakfireGaming. And if you want random interesting stuff, including cat pictures in your everyday feed, you can go to Twitch or twitter.com/FlakfireGaming.
Awesome. I also have with me my boy Mambo.
Hi guys, welcome back to another podcast. I'm one of the co-hosts, Mambo B. You can check me out on Twitch, Mambo_B.
And today we got a special guest for you guys. Izzy's not here, but I have B Dutch.
What's up, everybody? B Dutch. I stream on Twitch. You can find me at B Dutch on Twitch. And yeah, just play Battlefield, play a bunch of different games, and I'm usually pretty bad at them, so it's gonna be good.
Awesome. All right. So let me give you guys the quick rundown of how the podcast works for those of you guys who are brand new watching live here, recorded on Twitch. All of us actually chose 4 different topics to talk about. That's going to be our first segment of the podcast. At the end, we will do listener mail, and we'll also do live questions from the audience. So let's start it off. The topics for today are what changes do you think are most important for the Lubkov Pass map on CTE? For those of you guys who don't know, CTE is now live on consoles, and that's the map that's in it. The second topic is new ideas for specializations. DICE has decided to add perks, which they're calling specializations, into Battlefield, and we're going to have something to say about that. Next up, we're going to have things DICE should test in their console CTE, being that we're all console gamers here, and B-Dutch plays console as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Console.
Yeah. So there's definitely things that we're concerned with when it comes to CTE. What should DICE do, or what should they focus on with the console initiative? And finally, our guest had a question for us as well. What aspects of Battlefield would you want DICE to keep in the next Battlefield title? So those are our bayonet charge. I don't know, man. Those are our topics for this podcast. We're going to go straight into it. I'm going to remind people who are watching the recording on YouTube, or if you're watching the recording on iTunes, the way you can get interactive with the stream, with the podcast, I should say, is through email. You can always email us at the letstalkpodcast@gmail.com, and we will get your questions read at the end. We do have 2 emails. Pretty awesome. So let's go jump into topic number 1. And Mambo, tell us, what changes do you think are most important for LP map on CTE, and why do you pose that question?
Okay, hi guys. Yeah, I've been playing quite a bit of CTE. I know there is a unlock you get for playing a certain amount of time in the CTE. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to get involved and get in on CTE. They're looking for feedback on their Reddit page. DICE is for any feedback you want that affects CTE on console, which is a little different than PC. I know Flak has dabbled a little bit in the PC side of the CTE. They get the weapons that we don't get in the PlayStation version. We can't live stream it. We can't save videos, which kind of irks me a little bit because I'd like to give a little feedback to my community on it. But nevertheless, I have got my feet wet in it, and I feel like there's some changes that are deserving in the game. Since I've played it, it seems a little bit too sniper-friendly, in my opinion. I don't know. I need your guys' feedback. If you've played it, there's some simple things I think DICE can do to help break up some of the long shooting aspects of the map, like maybe some more foliage or some trenches on some of the capture points. Tends to help that. I know they added some trenches to Priesthood to Hooer. So when you're capturing the flag, you don't necessarily just get shot when defending. But at the same time, I just want to bounce that question off you guys, and as well as the stream, to see what they feel like if they've played the map. What do you guys got?
First thing, and I'll speak to this because I heard about it the other day, because I asked a question about it, because I've been hearing a lot of why can't I stream or share things on PlayStation 4 CTE? Because you can do it on Xbox, I believe. And I believe so. As far as I know, and I'm not going to go into detail because I don't really know the details, all I can say is that DICE is working to resolve that issue with PS4. So you will be able to do it soon. I don't know how soon, but they are aware of it and they're working on it. So that's good. I don't know.
It seems like they got a blocker on it though, Flak. Like they put your timestamp, your name, your ID number, everything on the video. So it makes it look like they don't want people to stream it. And if you do, they've got your information on your screen.
But
right?
they do that for an PC as well. They do that on PC. They do that on Xbox.
Oh, they do?
They do that across all platforms. But just really quick, because I don't know where you guys stand, but when it comes to CTE, I feel like it shouldn't be streamed.
I agree. I feel like CTE is an excuse for people. Like CTE is meant for product testing and improvement. But I think the majority of people just play it to be like, look at this cool weapon. I'm just going to use this one weapon. And that's not the point of it. It's to try everything and to try to find bugs, exploit them, so then they can fix them. So I don't necessarily think you should stream it, because at least when I stream, like, I try to interact with my chat most. So I'm not really focusing on every little part of the game. Where if you're truly trying to better the game for what it is, you should be focusing on all those aspects.
Right.
Well, and that's something we've talked about it here on the stream before. That I did a video on it recently, but a lot of people seem to have the idea that CTE stands for content tried early, and not community test environment.
Yeah. Like
the whole point of having it is that and it's like I read the comments on the videos all the time. On this last video, there are like 1,000 comments, and people on there were saying, oh, this is broken, or that's broken, or why doesn't this work right? And it's like, this is what are DICE doing? And it's like, it's a test environment. Stuff is going to be broken. And they want to know about it so they can fix it. And the thing is, and I'm totally with you guys in that regard, where you're like, should it be streamed? I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily like it being streamed, or, even though I do videos on it, or, being done for that, because it destroys some of the hype for the DLC, number one, but because so many people play it just to play it. Like, I'm on the Battlefield Live Reddit, which is the official Reddit for the CTE, and there's not a whole lot of action going on over there talking about this is broken, or you should consider fixing this. What we do see are a lot of posts about people, complaining that they can't do this, or they can't do that, or why this is broken, or that, or they're upset about something, or they feel
not
entitled
being able to play it.
they feel entitled to something. They're like, well, I want to play. I don't have premium, but I want to play on the CTE. It's like, well, you're not. Like, where's your investment level in that? Like, it's a whole nother thing we could go into. But the point is that of the people who play on the CTE, the majority don't leave feedback for the developers, which kind of negates the entire purpose of having a public CTE in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
so Flak, what would be your one thing that bugs you in Lupco Pass? Like, what is the one thing that you want to see change in the map? Is it design? Is it gunplay? If you had one thing you had to pick out, right? That's why I'm bringing up the topic. Mine, I think they need to put
Lupco or the CTE in general.
No, just a Lupco.
Just Lupco.
We'll
I was
talk
kind of
about
surprised.
CTE next one.
There,
another topic on it.
I've been playing on PC, as you guys know, and the most recent build of Lupco, or Wupco, for however you want to pronounce it, they actually added a tower and a wall on that hill that overlooks where C is.
Okay.
It's rather interesting. They put it there for a particular reason to, I guess offer less sniping space and, more cover for people trying to do that. So I figured, Mambo, you like to hear about that.
Yep.
The thing that I would like to see on Lupco or Wupco Pass the most, the AA guns are located almost exclusively on the Russian side. Okay. And there is none at A or B on the German side.
Okay.
And that, for me, like, there's a lot more cover on the map in terms of more trees, boulders, that kind of thing. So it's more difficult for, some of the really skilled pilots to, completely destroy your team. But it's still like there's nothing over there. There's absolutely nothing that you can do against aircraft. You just have to simply, like, try and hide in the woods. and pray for the best. And I'm not saying that they should put any aircraft at both A and B. On the Russian side, there's one at F and G, and even back into the Russian spawn, there is one. But there's just nothing on that side of the map, so airplanes can fly over there, heal up without having to worry about anything, and just continue to steamroll the rest of the map. And so that's my biggest concern.
Okay.
If I'm gonna chime in on, I've played Lovecraft Pass only on the console CTE. I do have access to PC CTE, but I rarely go there. But playing through the game, I'm not much of a conquest player, but playing through the game, I've had a few matches where it just wasn't balanced. The balance is hard to come across when you have so little players probably playing. You know, that pool of players is smaller. I actually did not get in at first to CTE, and some of you guys watching probably live right now or listening to it, you probably couldn't get into CTE. There was a second chance to get into CTE, and I think there's going to be another. I mean, they're going to slowly roll this out because they did the same thing with PC. Now, my only concern about the map, the way I played it, and granted I didn't play a lot, is I saw these siege guns. I don't know what side, but there's like a bunch of them lined up.
Russian
and I was
side.
just like, ever since we had They Shall Not Pass, I just walked up to it. I'm like, maybe I can get into this, and then I was just so disappointed that you couldn't, because they're like not broken. They're all lined up, and I'm like, this would be cool, you know, like an opportunity missed. And I'd like to see DICE, if you're gonna put some major prop in your game, try to make it useful, you know, like it would be cool.
Plus side, you've got on Albion, like you do have the big battery guns up there.
Yeah, okay.
And those are pretty cool. So yeah, unfortunately you don't get to use those. But I agree. Like it's always frustrating when you're playing around on a map and you're like, why can't I use this? Right?
Yeah,
like the big rail gun on what is it?
Oh, right. They shall
On
not
Rupture.
pass. On Rupture.
On Rupture,
the
you look at
train,
that and you're like,
huge gun. It looks so cool, and you can't use it.
Yeah.
You know what I would like to see DICE? Like, I know it's they don't want to put OP guns on each side, and maybe even in this aspect, like you said, it would be not fair. Maybe the Russians, I don't know what side is what, would have those siege guns, and the other guys wouldn't have any. So make it very limited. Make it so that there's only a tiny little area that these siege guns are aiming at. So when you actually get a kill with it, it's just like so much circumstance has to happen that you're just like, ha, I just got him, you know? Like, it still would be cool to have that in the game. Like, that's what I'm trying to get at from what I've played in Lovecraft Pass.
Okay.
Now, I haven't played Lovecraft Pass because I'm not in the CTE, but I've watched a bunch of videos on it. And from what I can see, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like it's falling into like the giant shadow trap where they have all this going on the outside, but the majority of players focus on the middle. And they're all, like, for Giant Shadow, it's on the blimp. And for Love Cow, it seemed like, was it C and D, which is in the middle of the two nodes that are very close to each other. That's where a lot of the foot traffic was. And I hate that. I hate that because then the whole perimeter of the map is pretty much dead, or there's just some snipers that are camping out there. So I don't know how exactly you can rectify that, but that's one thing that I noticed.
Priested Tahur does kind of the same thing. You got the C flag in the middle on Priested Tahur and everybody. And when I run squads on Conquest, I'll run around the entire outside objectives. Let's just go from here to there to here to there. I run the entire outside, and we win the game a lot of times because people just get so focused on that center fight rather than capturing the flags. We actually win because I'm capturing the flags on the outside.
I don't think it's nearly as bad as Giant Shadow is in that regard. Certainly, like, a lot of the action takes place up there.
Yeah, Giant Shadow's pretty bad.
A lot of the action really bleeds over to F.
Okay.
F is,
down the hill
kind
on
of
the railroad tracks.
like by the railroad tracks there, and over by the railroad trestle by, I think it's
Edward.
Over there, you do see a lot of combat there, but you definitely don't see very much going on unless it's a totally like one-sided, like camp fest where you push the Russians all the way back into their spawn, or you push the Germans all the way back into their spawn. At that point, no, you don't really get to see those objectives very much. So it definitely focuses on some of those more central objectives. But my biggest beef with Giant Shadow was the lack of cover and it just being a sniper fest.
Right.
Thankfully, Lovecraft Pass hasn't been that terrible in that regard. Like the bane of Lovecraft Pass for me is horses everywhere, and it's like you have to
Yeah.
be real careful about where you position yourself on that map. You know, if you're in one of the pathways that are clear of trees, like you better get out of there quick, because every like 30 seconds somebody rides a horse through one of those pathways, and if you're in the way, that's it.
They have
So,
spears now, right?
Yeah.
yeah, those spears are pretty cool. I wanted to just kind of mention that too. The other part that I've seen, and I try to play with the new horse cavalry with the spears, because of a lot of foliage there. There's a lot of like small shrubbery trees that you think you can go through or go by, and your horse just kind of gets stuck. You know, it's just like horses like, nah, man, and you're like, no, go, because I'm getting shot. You know.
See, and that's the kind of stuff that I want to see tested more on the CTE.
Precisely,
Like I want to see areas, and the biggest problem for me on PC playing the CTE, there are a lot of spots on the maps where, like, I've been using the MG 1417, and it's like it's got a bipod on it, and that bipod works when I'm prone like half of the time. And it is
Crummy.
the most infuriating thing, because I'll be trying to, actually fire, and it's like, oh, look, I'm going to shoot up in the air now. And then I'll move a foot to my right, and it's like, okay, now I got the laser bead going on. But, like, it's that kind of little stuff that it's like, I would like to see that stuff talked about more on the CTE.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, any closing thoughts? Because we're going to move on to our next topic.
No, I'm usually decent at the cavalry. I mean, I've gotten a 50 kill streak on a cavalry, and I can't seem to spear anybody. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. You guys got any tips for anybody watching the stream?
I have to get some practice with it too.
I don't touch cavalry. Like the beta, the
can't-
cavalry was awesome.
Oh
yeah.
yes.
But
Beta.
I can't seem to
so
poke
strong.
them and carry them. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I think I'm doing the mechanics right, but I always just run over them. I never am able to stick them. I hit them. I'll kill them with it says a melee, but I never actually carry them. I want to do that whole carry.
Well, are you doing the actual, like, trigger with the poke
Yep.
when you do it? Yeah, that's the only thing I could say, is that technically you got to time it right with the poke to skewer them on the
Right, you got to
lance
do the
there.
hyper. You got to do the hyper melee run with the horse, right, where he does that scream or whatever, and
you
then
have to
poke.
be in high speed.
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem to work for me. I don't know. I need more practice, I guess. I guess we'll see in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
Right. This thing should be launching at the end of this month, right?
That or sooner.
For everyone, even if you don't have CTE access, guys, you will be basically playing this soon. Pretty
Right.
awesome. I think we can now transition to our next topic, guys. Awesome discussion. Remember, if you had some opinions on this, you can save it to the end when we do the live commentary with you guys. I've read a lot of people had some good comments in there. First of all, let me introduce the next topic. Is the one I really wanted to focus on is Specializations came out for Battlefield. And let me give you a quick rundown of what these specializations are. Maybe you're listening and you don't know. So DICE is basically looking back at perks, but instead of like in Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 3, I don't remember how they did it in 3, but in Battlefield 4, you have to earn them as squad points. If you're doing squad things, you will earn them. If you die or you get squad wiped, I think they lessen. So that's kind of how they did it. It was always like that. Now, this time around, I believe what they're trying to set is a way to just have slots. Did they say they're going to allow you 3 slots? Or
Yes, 3.
3 slots. So there'll be perks you can just choose from, and you just kind of like, oh, I want
And
extra...
then one general one, right?
Yeah, I mean...
There are 7 that are available to all
I'll
classes.
go through them, yeah.
You've got 3 off the bat that are unlocked. The other ones need to be unlocked through challenges, and then you have 2 per class that are class specific. So you've got
this is basically
15
all in
total.
CTE right now.
Yeah.
So just because we're saying that this is going to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen this way. All right. So let me just go through, like, give you guys an example of what it is. So there's one named Flak, and of course it's Flakfires over here. That's definitely why they chose to call it that.
we'll go with that.
Basically, a perk for all its incoming damage from explosives is reduced by 15%. So you get the idea of what these things are meant to do. They're supposed to, like, minutely change what is going on in the battlefield. I think DICE is creating them to create more things to unlock in the game. and so therefore there's more things to do. Now, like Flag said, there's 7 of them that are for all classes, and then there's 2 for each specific class. Just to name a few, like you have things like cover, incoming suppression is reduced by 25%, quick regen, decrease the time before out of combat heal by 20%, and bayonet training, bayonet charge lasts longer and recovers more quickly. You know, so you probably get the point. I don't want to go through all of these, list them. They'll probably be somewhere on the internet if you look for them. Now, what I do, however, want to have is discussions on what do you think are new ideas for specializations, and or do you have any problems with the way they're implementing them? Any thoughts, guys?
There are a couple specializations that I look at them and I'm like, this is useless. Like certain specializations, you're like, really?
What do you find a useless one?
Bayonet training, for one, which you're
You
like,
really
what?
think
How,
that's
how
useless?
could he be upset about that? Because all I ever
Oh.
do is bayonet charge.
Right.
Basically, it's 1 second. Like you can bayonet charge 1 second further, and your ready up time for bayonet charging in terms of your regenning that ability decreases by 1 second.
Here's
and
a
for me,
useless one.
They've conditioned themselves. They trained, they ran the miles before they
Yeah,
were
there
ready.
you go.
I guess I don't know.
So
But,
here's
but
a
for
useless
me,
one to give you guys an idea what flak means. There's one called pin down for support, down
Yes.
where it says the duration an enemy remains spotted is extended if they're suppressing someone. Like that's gonna be a big deal, you know.
that is the other one, and we got a survey on, what do we think could be changed. I said this one is dumb, you should change it, because and I actually followed it up with some rationale here. If you remember what in Battlefield Bad Company 2, they had a spotting scope for the sniper rifle, and anybody you looked at with that spotting scope was spotted. It was fantastic, because nobody spots anyone in Battlefield 1. Like, they just don't, or it's a very rare thing when it happens. And on the little feedback sheet, I said, if I fully suppress someone, they should become spotted. I was like, that would be a useful perk if I'm playing as a support player. That would be something where I'm like, I don't feel like that's OP. It's just one person. And it would certainly be way more useful than, if I'm sort of suppressing this one person who just happens to be spotted by the one random person other than me who actually spots things in a game on Battlefield 1. It's just not very useful. That and bayonet training for me, I'm like, these need something a little bit better. And I wrote on the survey, I said, I would like the time it takes for me to actually do the bayonet charge be a little bit shorter. That would make it useful for me, like where it's got the little circle that goes up, and then you're officially charging. If I could do that a little bit quicker, I feel like that would be in the realm of bayonet training. But as it stands for that, you bayonet charge like 2 feet further, and like the amount of times that extra 2 feet is going to net you somebody is really, really small. The other thing is, like, nobody bayonet charges back to back, because either you're successful with your bayonet charge and you kill someone, and then you move on to whatever, or you bayonet charge someone, you're successful, and you get shot right after. Like, you're not going to be like, bayonet charge.
Guy, and then some dude's just now shot you in the back 4 times. That
Yeah,
just happens.
it's admittedly, it's pretty much like a suicide thing in Battlefield 1 a lot of the time. But it's like, I looked at it, I'm like, that's not useful. Like, I appreciate that they're trying, definitely. And some of the other perks or specializations are pretty smart and pretty useful, but those two in particular,
All right. Mambo, any thoughts on just the ones? Let's focus on, I guess this is a really big discussion. I didn't really realize. Let's just focus on what they actually have, and then maybe we'll throw an idea or two at the end. Mambo, what do you think about this whole perk situation? What are your thoughts?
Now, you say that general perks, there's 7, right? But you only get to choose one of the 7?
No,
right?
you get 3 slots. If you want to go all 3 general, then you do general. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see.
It's just that some of them are reserved for just sniper or just
Right.
assault.
Maybe the chat, maybe other people listening out there didn't know how the whole perk system is going to work.
Yeah.
I myself, I don't see too much of it changing the game too much, but anything that reduces Incoming grenade spam, I think, is a lot for Battlefield 1, considering that seems to be an issue for Battlefield 1, whereas the past Battlefields, I don't feel grenade spam was as big a deal in those games. I don't know why.
Because you can throw grenades slower. If you go back, play BF4, a hardline even, when you press the grenade button, it takes like that. And then in Battlefield 1, you throw it like it's nothing.
Right, those impact grenades and stuff drive me bonkers, man.
Yeah.
And since the last patch, it seems like you could throw grenades after you're dead. I don't know, it's like, whoops,
Oh, no,
smarter
you
don't.
can do that, yeah.
Yeah. So anything that helps reduce that damage from flak will help. But no pun intended there, flak.
It ain't gonna help you. It's okay.
But I don't know how I feel about the timing. Now, you get them as you unlock them, as your squad does work, or is it as you do individual work?
The way they're purposing it in CTE right now is you might have an assignment to unlock one, and once you unlock it, you can just equip it at the start when you spawn into the game. You just
like
have
a
them.
perk.
They're like Call of Duty perks, 100%
Yeah,
what Call of Duty did.
Yeah. Like stop thinking it as specializations in like Battlefield 4. Even in Hardline, they had some.
Yes.
It's just straight up like perk system, which I like. I enjoy that. I always felt that the way that it kind of unlocked as you went along as a squad, like you never knew, like, oh, now I can do this, or, it was a little
Wasn't
bit
that the way
confusing.
it was in Battlefield 4? Like, as
Yes.
you did stuff as a squad, each slot opened up, and then if
Yes.
you die or something, it takes them back
Lost it.
away, and you got to do
Yeah,
them over again.
but you know what? The thing about it is a good game has simplicity. And that was something a lot of Battlefield players didn't even understand. They were just like, I don't know, sometimes I get 2 grenades and sometimes I don't. I don't know, you know?
that is exactly right.
You know,
Like,
and
100%.
That's one of those things, like, to simplify the
Okay.
game, good call. B-Dutch, what do you
Okay.
think about the whole system? I just want to get your idea on it too.
I hate it with specializations, primarily because you're taking something, you're throwing. With gaming, it's all muscle memory. I think you become better by knowing A leads to B, which leads to C. Once you add these specializations in, A could lead to C. If you give somebody, even if it's 10 to 15%, that's pretty big. It ruins your muscle memory. So adding something into the game like that, I think could be a little bit detrimental. And also, in particular, the one that I'm most worried about, two rather, the camouflage one, I think is fine if you were to be slow. Keep it like if you were slow moving or like at a crawl.
So
cool.
to tell
You can't
everybody
be
what
spotted.
camouflage is
It is really
when
slow.
moving slowly or
Yeah.
stationary, you are invisible to spotting flares.
And I think it's the stationary part that's terrible, because then that just facilitates
Camping.
snipers not playing the objective and sitting off just shooting at people. And then also the medics, whenever they revive, it drops a smoke. So you're gonna have
that one's
spotting
called
is gonna be
concealed rescue. Down squad mates within 20 meters drop smoke to cover their revival.
that's
and it's
bad.
a 40-second cooldown.
There's a
I don't even know
cooldown
how
on that.
How does that
There-
even work?
Basically, if you go down and
person
there's a
is-
medic nearby you that has that equipped, your body gets covered in smoke. Like we talked about it before on a call, but it's like we all had visions of like an entire squad just being like, we're the smoke squad and we're gonna run out there and die and then
Bro,
just
the
cover the
medic could
entire
have
battlefield
smoke
with it.
grenades. It could
And
have
speed.
smoke rifle grenades, and then it could
Yeah.
have this perk. You won't see anything on the battlefield.
And there's another perk where when a medic revives somebody, they each get a speed boost, like a 20% speed boost for 8 seconds. Like
Yeah,
I
said 8
implementing-
seconds is way too long for that.
They making it fast as in Hardline. Hardline was a fast battlefield
Well,
as far as movement, right? So
here's-
Yeah, but they slow down the movement a lot more than Hardline is. You can't
Here-
go.
I'm sorry.
I just feel like when you take these things and you put them into play in a game where a lot of it's you do hours upon hours, like you know your shot, you know how characters move, you know how much you have to lead people. You introduce these variables, and it takes away from the skill level, and it's more RNG. Where you have games, and it's fine if you want RNG in your game, but then it's not so much skill level. It's more of, my perk is going to get me out of here because I move faster than they're anticipating. So
Well,
it's like it's.
Right. Well,
Right.
one
The
one
thing
that'll-
here, though, that
Oh.
I want to bring up, that the 3 default perks, and I think it's very important that we mention this. The 3 default perks are flak, cover, and quick regen, right? So those are the 3 that everybody's going to have right out of the gate. So you have to look at this when this patch, I'm assuming it'll come as part of a patch or an update, drops. All of a sudden, you're going to have, explosives be 15% less effective. You're going to have people moving 10% quicker under fire. Or wait,
no, it's incoming suppression is
reduced by 25%, and then you're going to have people healing quicker outside of combat. And the Battlefield community has, since Battlefield 1 came out, has been saying we want more focus on gunplay.
Right.
We want more focus on gunplay and skill. And you look at it right out of the gate, that's exactly what's going to happen in that regard. I totally agree with B-Dutch that it's like, yeah, you're going to be like, like I'm used to people dying after this point, or they shouldn't be moving that quickly, or this or that. And certainly that variation in gameplay is going to be frustrating at first.
There is a little remark that DICE did make is, if you think back in Battlefield 4, there was that whole thing about taking more damage. I forgot what the perk was called, but it was like one that you would take more damage. So when you would say 4 bullets to the chest to kill someone, it would be 5. So that's where, B-Dutch, you're right. I mean, that muscle memory messed me up plenty times, until they added the colors for the hit markers. So I know red means I killed the guy. Cool. But for a long time, like, I've developed that muscle memory because I've played thousands of hours. I look at someone, I squirt 4 bullets, and I know exactly that should be over. I'm trying to position to the next guy, and he's got 10%, and I'm like, that wasn't enough, and I waste time in doing these things. So you'll be happy to know that DICE did say that they're not going to be adding a perk that basically gives you extra health.
Yeah.
So I want to now move to the next part of this discussion because we still have some time on this topic, and I went back and I thought about something. I actually don't mind that these perks will be unlocked right away. It's more simple. What I do, however, mind is that there are perks that are given to all classes. I would like to see DICE rework the system where the perks are per class only. So therefore, it would give an actual, how would I say it? A purpose to, I'm a sniper, I'm an assault, I'm a medic. I don't like seeing things merge out. So let me give you an idea. For instance, for the 7 that are given to all players, like Flak, I would only give that to Assault. Assault is the person in the fight. He should be the one who dishes out the grenades. He should be the one who takes more grenade damage. Cover, incoming suppression reduced by 25%, I'd give that to Support. Support is the one dishing out suppression. It shouldn't be the one taking suppression. Quick regen, I'd give that to the medic. The medic is the one supposed to heal people up. So when he's in a tough spot, if he goes to the side, he can quick regen. Quick on spot, I'd give that to the sniper. You're supposed to be covert a little bit. Someone spots you up there, 3 seconds, not 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bayonet training, I'd give that to the medic because his gun is limited and that's his little way of getting a kill maybe. Hasty retreat, increase your maximum sprint speed while you're suppressed. That'd be the support thing. Camouflage.
Yeah, because they're slower. Yeah.
Camouflage, they don't have the bayonet charge. You see what I mean? Camouflage, I would give that to the snipers only. I know that does not 100% play in with what B-Dutch you said with camping snipers, but I feel like this gives purpose to the kits themselves. So now, how do you guys
I totally agree with that. I mean, I look at them like there are certain things that it's like I like that every class should have some kind of ability or whatever. But no, exactly as you're saying it, like I do like things to be more class oriented. As much as when I'm playing on the CTE, I'm using camouflage. It's called inconspicuous on the CTE, but I've been using that.
So what's that do again? What's camouflage do?
Camouflage slowly or stationary, you're invisible to spotting flares.
I think I agree with B-Dutch. You're creating camping scenarios for snipers. Why not only make it where if you're moving slowly, but if you're stationary, then it doesn't apply. Make it where if you move slow, because then you could sneak around buildings and corners and you're planning your flank cautiously. Whereas if you're not even thinking of flanking, then you shouldn't get a benefit.
If that is such a divisive issue, if I was DICE, I would just can that whole feature. Just don't do it. You know? Because I don't know, it defeats the purpose of a
give us the
spotting player.
canteen. Just give us the canteen for the spotting
Right.
player.
I mean, we
Wait till
talked
I
about
tell you
this in
what
the
I
last
came up
podcast.
with.
B Dutch wasn't here about how to counter these spotting flares, and we said somebody had a good idea. Can we take a canteen and pour on the flares, or stomp the flare out?
Stomp the flare out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You take
I
like
think,
5-10 damage because you did the thing for your team. You stomp the flare out. Maybe you take 20. I don't know. Make it fair.
I like that. Yeah, that's a much better mechanic than just having essentially a passive camouflage.
And the thing is here, and I do want to applaud DICE for trying to find a solution to spotting flare spam, because it's like there is no counter to it. You can stand inside of a smoke grenade, but then you're completely useless. You can't see anything. You can't do anything.
Right.
It's really, really obnoxious, but they have no counter in the game. And so that's one reason that once I heard that was going to be a specialization, I was like, that's going to be the first one that I try and unlock, because I absolutely hate them.
But is it fair? See, in the dynamic of the battlefield, I don't think it's fair for everyone to have the ability to equip that. You know what I mean? I think it's fair for a sniper to be stealthier kind of a kit, but I don't think it's fair for an assault to be able to do the same thing as that. So that's why I thought that these perks should not be given to all.
Well, the only problem that I can think of is that you're taking away the squad component of Battlefield if you do that. You're relying it too class-centric, so it's more individual-based than squad-based if it's per class. And also, I think that's the problem, is that if you have a person who's really good, who's netted thousands of hours in Battlefield, they now have these perks that are just for their class. They're going to just steamroll people. So I think having squad-based perks are better than just having it per class, because it just allows for, people to just run the show and just wipe the floor with people. So
that's a valid point.
But I think it also limits people, like how effective they could be. Like, sure, the sniper will dominate and be able to hide better in certain areas, but he will not be able to run the map. You know what I mean? So I feel like assault would be more upfront, but it will still be very limited in distance. And I like that kind of rock, paper, scissors aspect of kits, And I think they also need to touch upon vehicles the same way, but that's just my 2 cents. You know what? Let me introduce you guys to before we end this topic, things I've come up with to kind of facilitate that. I feel like each class should have an increased speed mechanic. So for assault, what I would do is speed will increase when damaged by explosives. So since I would say that whenever you're being suppressed, your speed increase. That was the quick. That was the one that is the hasty retreat while you're being suppressed. That would be the support one. I would go the assault one would be when you're damaged by an explosive. So you can actually kind of quickly run away from explosives, or you can maybe run towards a tank a little bit, 10%. I don't know, whatever they're increasing the speed at. For medic, I thought if you're spotted, your speed can increase. So because you're the guy who wants to get to someone, you spotted
just
a little
call
faster.
it paranoid.
Yeah. And for sniper, I think if you're low health, your speed can increase. So there'll be like different speed increases rather than just one class can have one. Like the one all. I also came up with like a whole mess of other stuff. I don't know if you guys want to go through them. Like assault ability to hip fire the rocket would be nice, so you don't have to bipod it. Maybe really bad accuracy.
I would love that.
And since assault is one of those up in your face kind of classes, why not ability to speed up knife animations? So it doesn't take you the full 5 seconds to shank someone. Maybe 2.5.
Yeah,
I hate those animations.
Everybody hates them, but you can't. I don't think that you can make a perk and give that option to everyone. I feel like it should be like an assault thing, maybe, or like I don't know if how do I feel about sniper being able to run fast, throw down a spotting flare, and then be able to shank people half the time. You see what I mean? Like I feel like people will be able to make the god kit, or situational god kits. And it would be bad for competitive play, and it would be just bad for just the battlefield in general. let me
I
run you
think
guys.
I was just say I think anything RNG is bad for competitiveness though.
Yeah, the RNG
So
is
if
a
you
lot,
have
man.
those things where you don't have the direct control to trigger a speed boost or to trigger something and you're relying with it, a third party to activate that, that's RNG and that's bad for competitiveness. Or I think maybe if they fused Battlefield 4, the squad mechanic, with the Battlefield 1 class specific type of thing. So you kind of have once everybody has their perks and they're activated, then everybody in the squad gets it.
Right.
And I kind of like the thing where if you died, it fell off. So there's a penalty. So you're not just God mode running around all the time. But
Yeah, so they're going to simplify it the other way. I mean, I thought of other stuff like ability to throw dynamite farther, for medic, stuff like ability to throw med pack further, increase self-heal rate using... then there was the other thing I saw, the gas mask thing. So when Assault equips the gas mask, their explosive damage is reduced by 15, another 15, So I thought like, okay, so if you're medic, you put a gas mask on, what should happen? So I was like, all right, increased self-heal rate when using gas mask. For support, maybe if you put on a gas mask for support, maybe your hipfire accuracy is better. And like for sniper, if your gas mask is equipped, maybe your pistol accuracy is better. I don't know.
I would like to see the gas mask, like instead of the current Juggernaut perk, I would like to see it reduce damage from fire.
Oh, that makes
that way
sense a little bit.
I won't die on Amyan running around. But also because it's like, having that stack with explosive damage resistance to a total of 30% is quite a bit. It's quite a bit. And, I think a lot of people, when they read about that perk, are overlooking the fact that it's like you lose the ability to ADS when you have the gas mask on.
It doesn't matter on PC too much.
It's still something that it's like, we don't have anything that reduces damage from fire. And I think that would be nice to have. And it's like, well, if you look at the Flame Trooper, he puts on a mask, so why shouldn't it, if we put on the gas mask, help reduce damage from fire?
Interesting.
Well, they got a flame suit on, so technically,
yeah,
they're covering their body from head to toe, maybe. But we spoke about reduction of incendiary on one of our podcasts, and Echo's like, yeah, if you're a fire guy, you don't get hurt by incoming fire. And the next couple games I played, I was the flame trooper, and I was getting hurt by enemy fire. I was like, wow, or hurt by enemy gas. I was like, I'm still getting hit by enemy gas. And I was like,
oh, no, you don't get hit by enemy gas. No, you don't.
Yes, I was getting
Not
killed
with the
by
flame
it even. I was
trooper.
like, wow,
Yeah,
I
I don't
got it
think
on
you do.
video.
Not with the flame trooper, though.
Yeah.
He has a gas mask on by default. It protects you from enemy
I got
gas.
killed by enemy fire. I was like, what?
Enemy
How?
fire, yes. Because, you're still burning, dude. But,
Yeah, but you got
gas,
fire shit
no.
on. I was like, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me, let's just, I have a couple of other stuff. I mean, you can imagine there's so many things you can do with sniper. Like
Right, there's a lot of
iron
variables.
lungs, like you can have holder. You know what I thought of? A perk? The decoy for the sniper is the stupidest thing ever, right? It spots them for a little bit. I think there should be a perk. Now hear me out. I think there should be a perk. If you're dumb enough to shoot a decoy, you're that dumb, you spotted forever. That's it, man. Done.
Just spot it until you die.
Into the next map as well. Like, you just be spotted. I mean, until you die. I think, come on. That needs to be a thing. And then
I think they
funny
should.
stuff, like, I don't know.
Already, I will say the one perk that is you automatically drop a decoy if you're shot by a distant enemy, and it drops you to under 35 health, I think it is. That is the most hilarious perk. Like, you're running around playing Battlefield, and there's just, like, a random head on a stick.
They need to swap out the
like,
head
Okay.
and do a wacky inflatable arm man instead. That'd be much better. You get
So
shot
now-
drop below
now-
35%. It's just a
Right.
dude like flopping his arms in the air. That'd be way better.
Like, imagine a battlefield where those two perks are equipped at the same time. So you drop to low health. So you're low health, that means you drop a decoy. And since you're low health, I said my speed increase would get you out of there. And since the guy is dumb enough to keep shooting, he'll probably touch the decoy, and now he's spotted forever.
All right.
3 slots.
So you can counter them.
Yes,
There.
it'll be
Dude,
just
these
a really
specializations,
funny
I don't
one.
know.
A lot of variables. Well, that's what the community was complaining about. That there wasn't enough stuff to do, right? So they're trying to introduce more variables.
Right.
One of the guys in the chat section says, "Why are we even introducing these perk systems?" Well, one of the complaints of the community is there's not enough to do in Battlefield
Right,
1.
they're
And this
going to be able to unlock these. You're not going to get these right away. Maybe you'll get the first 3 like Flak said, which I think is not a good idea to have everybody have the same things. But you're going to be actually unlocking these, so it's something to do in Battlefield.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, we don't know how intense those challenges are going to be. Like, you know, I talked to Andrew Galata, and he couldn't say anything about it at that point, but he's like, you know, he made it seem like they were going to be, you know, kind of difficult to do. So, like, I'm intrigued. I'm like, I really hope that it's like, wow, if I get killed by somebody with this particular perk, it's like they had to go out there and earn that. Like, that would be nice, you know, especially with Battlefield 1, where so many people are like, you know, oh, there's nothing to do, you know,
Yeah,
and
yet
then
there's like 70,000 people playing online. Bro, there's nothing to do. I'm just logged in.
All right.
I mean, but that's the thing. So, you know, I'm real interested to see what it's going to take to unlock them in particular. And I really hope they do it, you know, where it's class-specific stuff. Or even, you know, squad stuff. That would be great, going with what B-Dutch said earlier. But, yeah, we don't have any data on that yet either, so that's something to keep in mind.
All right, guys, this topic is going off the rails. We need to hand it off to the next idea. Flak, your topic is... things DICE should test in that console CTE. The fact that it just came out. Go ahead, take us in there. We gotta move on.
Yeah, this I don't envision this one will be a super long topic. But it's something we talked about on the podcast before. You know, maybe that we would like to see things balanced a little bit differently on console than they are on PC. So I'm curious what you guys would kind of put into that category that maybe should be done a little bit differently on console than it is on PC.
For example, like what would be one of the things?
Well, we
I
have
don't really
aim
know.
assist, you know,
Right.
that PC doesn't, and I feel like that should be, like, I mean, the console CTE should be utilized for that 100%. Start tweaking aim assist, start changing the way it behaves, and see what the community, people who are playing CTE, are telling you is good feedback or bad feedback based on what you're changing. But start changing it, because the system is not good. You know how it works, right, B-Dutch, right now?
No.
I know you don't use aim assist. So aim assist basically is if you zoom in your character. For those of you guys watching, you might not be familiar with. If you zoom in your gun and you're kind of close, it'll snap you to the center mass of a enemy, and from there you just squeeze and shoot and, you know, refine your aim. So the idea is there, like, I think that's way too powerful. They didn't even do that in Battlefield 4. In Battlefield 4, the aim assist would snap, like if you aim over here, it would snap to an extremity, like a shoulder, an arm, a leg. You know, it was more purposeful. Rather than here, it always goes center mass, whether you're laying down, jumping in the air, flying out there in the sky with a parachute. Aim assist, center mass, constant, and it's kind of broken. They need to fix that. Please.
Yeah, I think if aim assist is snap targeting, that's bad. It shouldn't just be like automatically like blap right on center mass, but
does.
maybe a slowdown would be useful, because aiming with analog sticks it's way more difficult
Oh no,
than
the
mouse and
slowdown
keyboard.
is good. Yeah.
Yeah,
They need
so
it.
slowdown is fine. Like if you get, for those who don't know what slowdown is, it's like if you're moving to the right and you're going over the enemy, as you get close to the enemy hitbox, it'll automatically slow down your controller, like you're aiming, so it makes it easier.
I get killed by that so many times where
Yeah.
I'm trying to hit someone else and it slows down over
Yeah.
a different character.
That's why sometimes aim
see, that's
assist is
the
a
thing.
hindrance.
It's not a perfect system, and maybe CTE could focus on that. You know.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not really sure, because I feel like aim assist has always been implemented with consoles because of that, and it's always been a subject that people don't like because it's kind of so easy to do.
But yet people that come from PC and go to console can't stand it for the reason that they're not accurate enough. They're like, I'm not precise enough. You even spoke about it in one of your streams, B Dutch. You were like, yeah, once you get used to a mouse, you're used to that fine tuning precision that a mouse gives you as opposed to thumbsticks. So can CTE help from feedback from the community like us regarding the aim assist? Now, they did totally retweak the aim assist in CTE right now. It is totally off. When I played in vanilla Battlefield 1 on console, the aim assist, even though I turned it off, it's still on. It is still on. It snaps to players. On CTE, totally off. It feels so much smoother. Like, whoa, this is so much better. So if you get used to the way it is in vanilla right now and you go over to CTE, you're going to totally feel that you turned your aim assist off. Whereas when I turn it off, I still get my target pulled off by somebody running by. That drives me bonkers, even though I turned it off.
That's because Mambo, those are two separate aim assists. You turned off snap, but you still have slow down on. I play with slow down on. And so that's why when you're watching and it pulls you somewhere, that's slow down.
No, but I'm on a target. I'm not moving, and it pulls me off. That's still aim assist. It's not perfect.
It does. I made a video a long time ago about this, and I tested whether if you move or they move or if you stand still and that. There's like a bunch of stuff about it, but I would like to see them visit that, and I also like to see them start looking at like statistics of weapon usage, to know if they need to balance weapons properly. Like, do we really need a Hellrigger nerf? You know, maybe on console it's more popular than on PC. Maybe. I don't know. You know what I mean? They have access to data. They have access to data in CTE. They can see what's being played, what's being popular, and then maybe they can start rolling out changes to damage models, to spread models, to RNG models. So all these things could be happening tailored to console on CTE that I think would help the game.
I think certain things that it would be nice to have them work on a little bit more specifically would be some of the control schemes in particular. You know, like, I mean, it's pretty similar between PC and console when it comes to flying airplanes. A lot of people prefer flying airplanes with a controller. You know, even on PC, there are lots of people who, if they are going to fly an airplane, they break out their controller so they can do it that way. It'd be nice to see maybe some fine tuning of, for example, some of the cavalry controls, which I still feel are not 100% great with a controller.
I think cavalry needs a whole rework. It's just so awkward, like the actual movement of the horse.
Yeah,
I think it's what we were saying earlier. It's navigating things that you should easily be able to vault. Sometimes you get stuck on, and if you do miss, like a swing of your sword or with the spear, if you have to turn around just 180 degrees, you're just getting shot. Like the mobility of the horse, it's so clunky. It's so clunky.
And I don't know if it's different on keyboard. You know, maybe it is, but it's like whenever I try and play the cavalry class, it never ends well for me, ever.
Yeah, there's definitely some of those things. I would like to see them look at like vehicles, because I feel like vehicles are a little bit more OP on consoles than they actually probably are on PC. I think a lot of it has to do with they are given aim assist on console to vehicles. I would love for them to test if they removed aim assist completely from vehicles to see even if vehicles are still OP, or maybe that tones them down a little bit. I just I think that's the platform that they can actually try these changes.
Right. Yeah, you don't really need an aim assist for a vehicle that has a radius of explosion that can take down a building. Yeah. You're like B Dutch says, you're just creating RNG. That the randomness is what drives a lot of players away from Battlefield. A thing they could test out in CTE is the spawn system. In the past Battlefield 4s, and Battlefields, we could actually see our teammates' screens before we spawn. It's saying your friends are under fire, but you still spawn them and you're instantly dead. It's like, that's the things that just, you want to spawn to help them out, but at the same time, you could actually detriment your team's play by spawning on them, because then you just bled a ticket if you're playing Conquest or whatnot. So maybe test out the spawn system.
Okay,
the
still
spawn is really
on
cool.
your dead teammate.
Oh man, that needs to get addressed.
That needs to go away like soon.
Yeah, where you kill somebody and you turn your back to the person you killed, but then you get shot by the person right behind you.
Because they spawn on them like 3 seconds later out of thin air on a dead body.
Right as you're like, no one's here, I'm gonna reload.
Oh, I always do that.
Every time.
I'm always like, I just dropped 3 people and I'm like, cool, reload, right? And Smurf comes up out of the ground like and just shoots me. And he gets
that's where like 90% of my bayonet charges are, because I'm reloading, there's nothing in my magazine, that person pops up, I'm like, all right. That's it. That's all you can do.
That's a smart man, guys.
Say that again,
I'm sitting there like shooting, and then they get spawn what's that, spawn protection, so they can absorb more bullets. You're never gonna win that gunfight. I should run at
Say that again, Flak. What are you doing?
Well, it's when you have a dead spawn, after you shoot someone and somebody spawns on their corpse, and it's like, well, because you just shot that guy, immediately you're going to go for the reload, because we have all trained ourselves to do that. So you're in the process of reloading, you're not able to shoot, and all of a sudden somebody pops up. If you have a bayonet, that's the perfect opportunity where you can actually go for the bayonet charge, because if you don't, you're probably not going to live, because you're going to get shot by the person who just dead spawned on the guy.
And that person gets spawn protection, so he can absorb more of your bullets, and you can't absorb a bayonet.
And the thing is, it's like that person is going to be upset, but it's like, well, like, I mean, they didn't know that they were spawning on a dead person. None of us do when we do it, but
yeah. I mean, I've spawned before and took a bayonet on the spawn, and it's just like, the blood pressure just goes right up. I mean, we've all been there. That's why you guys are smiling. The randomness, it's like, really?
Where I shot a guy, he died, and then there was another person up in front of him, and I was going for the bayonet charge on that guy, and then somebody dead spawned on the guy that I just shot between the guy that I was trying to bayonet charge, and I bayonet charged the guy who just spawned.
Yeah.
Like, think about the sequence of events that had to happen for that to happen. I felt bad about it, but
wow.
Feels bad, man.
Awesome. Any closing thoughts on just what DICE should focus on CTE? I think it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's still important to get it out there.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Spawns and aim assist.
So we're going to move on to our last topic of the day, and this one is by our guest right here, B Dutch. Says, what aspects of BF1 would you want DICE to keep in the next Battlefield title? Why do you want to ask that question, B Dutch?
Well, I think there are some things that they did right, even though I think Battlefield 1 is one of the weaker installments in the franchise. I feel like there are some really good things that they could bring forward. I think the aesthetics of Battlefield 1, the sound, I really love the sound of not only the weapons themselves, but the characters. I feel like with every country that you play, they all speak the language. They all have a little bit of, uniqueness to them. So it adds to not just playing a multiplayer game just to shoot guns, but it immerses you in that, which I really like. And there are other things as well, but I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on what you liked in Battlefield 1 moving forward.
Cool. One of my favorite things is just operations. I love the game mode. Let's keep it rolling, man. I would love to see it become a staple in Battlefield.
Make sure it's in the server browser off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, they took this operations aspect from the Medal of Honor series. I was so happy when they brought that over. When I heard they were bringing operations where you push enemies out of an area to the next set of objectives, and then you fight for that objective. You're using the whole map as a fighting point. That gives the whole grand scale of what wars are about. The road to Baghdad. You know what I'm saying? So that I really like operations that they brought that from Medal of Honor. But I do think there's other things too, for instance, of Battlefield Hardline, where you could get ammo off each other's backpacks. We don't have that in Battlefield 1. And there's so many times where I'm like, I just could use some ammo, and you're running around the ammo guy yelling at them, and they look at you like, nah, no big deal, right? So this whole medic revive thing that we now got in Battlefield 1, I think they need to take that to other Battlefields. If they're going to have a medic class in a Battlefield, definitely B Dutch. I think they should bring over the medic. revive aspect. At least they know I'm coming to help you out, man.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I will say that I really enjoyed the stationary weapons in this battlefield compared to some of the past ones. I really, really like the AT gun. I still don't care for some of the machine guns and their locations for emplacements within the game. Sometimes, on some maps they're good, some other ones they're not. But the AT gun I really liked because that one is one that kind of requires some skill. Like you have to lead someone, you have to judge, fall off for the round. Like it's very fun. I enjoy using that. I would like to see that in a future Battlefield game. I do like the bayonet charge. I think that should stay if we go into a time frame that bayonets are still relevant. And people are going to hate on it. At the same point, it's something that it's like it has its uses and it has its drawbacks, and I think it's important that it kind of has that balance there.
Wasn't there a treaty that removed the bayonets from warfare?
I don't believe so. They did ban like the sawtooth bayonets. They wouldn't let you use those anymore. But there was one other thing that I was going to say.
Wasn't that in the Geneva Conventions to remove bayonet charges from warfare? They said it's too brutal, as well as chemical gases.
That sounds like something that's been like proposed in 2017 because the Geneva Convention gets around to it, a little late.
I feel like bayonets became obsolete.
They'll be like, well, you know what, guys, let's not use bayonets. And it's 2017, everyone's looking around like, good idea, bro.
Yeah, we're using drones now, dude.
Yeah. I won't put a bayonet on my drone for the knife kill.
I want to go off of something that Mambo said there. I think 100% he's right on the whole grabbing health or ammo from a medic. I still don't know why that is not a thing in this game, because that was one of the most frustrating aspects of Battlefield games, was not being able to, you're like, he's right there. He's right there. Like, I have to trust in the non-stupidity of somebody else, which I'm kind of cynical, so sometimes I don't, but it'd be like, it would be so nice to just be able to, like, there's the medic. This is what he's there for. Go grab that pack and, do that. Another thing that I wish they had done a little bit differently, because I felt like it was another important aspect of skill in the Battlefield franchise, and that was specific to the medic of charging the paddles. So you would have to charge
that.
them,
they removed that.
And that's 100% gone in this game. And I says, I just poke them with the needle, and ta-da, they're at 100% health. Like, no, I like the trade-off.
Terrible.
Where it's
but we don't have defibrillators in Battlefield in World War One.
I know what you're saying.
But the thing is, you can charge the needle. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but
the needle can be charged.
When
you get the revives, they completely remove the aspect of giving someone a small revive or like a full revive. And I think it's because people complained so much when they got the bad revives, and then the med pack and say, "Hey, go fend for yourself." That talk about like a bad. You know how you said like it doesn't feel good when you're on the battlefield and you can't get ammo and the guy's not giving you ammo. This was one of the aspects of Battlefield a lot of people complained about in the forums and everything else. They're just like, I hate getting the small revive. So they literally just said, you know what, no small revive. And I think it works all right in BF1. I don't find it that
I think it works fine, but it's just something that's like everybody, and it's the same people that complain about all this other stuff. They're like, Battlefield takes no skill. And then they're like, but I want 100% revive when I poke someone with a needle. It's like, make up your mind.
You can't listen to complaining. Because people are complaining doesn't necessarily mean there needs to be a change. I loved the fact that if you did a small revive, they had 60 health. And if you take that extra couple seconds to charge it up and do 100, they're full revived. I think Battlefield has always... Was it 20?
Yeah,
it was 20 health.
Low.
Well, regardless, I think it's... the point I'm trying to make is that Battlefield has always been the nice mix between an arcade shooter and a milsim shooter. And now when you do these things and you just constantly make it easier and easier, you're going down, you're taking away what Battlefield actually is and making it more arcadey and more casual. And that's what I don't like. So.
Yeah. There needs to be that perfect sweet spot that I've seen, and I grew up with Battlefield knowing that.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like there needs to be more area for skill, right? And in that regard, that's one of the things that I feel like they took away. And now it's like, okay, well, this process is really simplified. Do people appreciate it a lot more? Yeah, but at the same point, like I was always really proud whenever I played Medic, and I would primarily play Medic in Battlefield Hardline because the engineer class basically was non-existent. But it was like I was always, very proud of the fact whenever I revived somebody, like it was always a full revive, unless there was some really crazy circumstance or something. And it's like,
give us back our bunny hops.
Well, I mean, it's just like another avenue for somebody to learn skill. You know, I think that's important. And the same thing. What about damage curves? What do you guys think of damage curves?
What do you mean by that? The sniper sweet spots?
Yeah, for the sniper sweet spots.
It's over. I like that it makes snipers different, but I think it's overdone. I think 100% is a little bit like, come on, man. You really didn't mean for that to happen. Do you really think that someone goes with an SMLE, sits there, and then gets a sweet spot kill, and it's like, you know what? I knew that was the perfect distance. You know what I'm saying?
But some
get
people
it by
do.
Luck.
Some people do. I specifically, whenever I play sniper, put myself in a position where I know that somebody's in that sweet spot range. And the thing is, that's skill.
I'm calling shenanigans on that, Flak.
That's skill. That's opportunity for you to learn a skill in Battlefield 1, and because you know that, you're a better player. That's that whole fine line
between realism and arcade, though. In realism, if you shoot somebody in the face with a freaking 7.62 sniper rifle, and they're in your face, you get 80% kill hit, but then when they're 500 feet away, you get a full kill.
I hate to tell you, if you take a 50 cal and shoot someone in the face at 5 meters, I think there's like 75% of their body still there.
Right. But that's the way Battlefield is now. This sweet spot thing is ridiculous. If anything, it needs to be from 0 to a certain distance, and then the foot-pounds of the velocity of that bullet goes away, and you lose damage. That's the way Battlefield 4 was. The further away they were, the less damage you got.
Battlefield 4 tried to make sniper rifles different by their like drop and stuff, but they're all basically the same, or
you get the one and it's king above everything else.
Yeah, everybody SRR, and then maybe there's one that's up close king, the CS5 or whatever it was. I like that they're moving away from that. The sweet spot is all right, but make it like 95 damage, please. I don't want to see that. I don't know, 100% seems like a little bit. I don't like when I die to it.
Yeah, not a fan of the sweet spot personally. I agree with Mambo. I think it's although you could say that I'm trying to put myself at X amount of distance so that my bullet will be in the sweet spot. But I think not. The majority of people don't really do that. It's more of like, oh, sweet, I got a sweet spot kill. Like, they're not actually trying to do that. It's just introducing more RNG into the game. When I'm just
if
not
they
a fan
just
of
made these long sniper shots not give you a one-shot kill, that stops a lot of the camping with snipers. Make them play medium range, and then you reduce the amount of snipers sitting up on a mountaintop. Not doing the objective. You lose power in your bullet at long range. Why not make it that way?
They kind of already do, with the whole your bullet velocity is great, and then at a certain point the bullet just starts to dive because it just loses speed so much faster than it did previous Battlefields. In previous Battlefields, it would just be like Angry Birds. It would just be like, it's always gonna go there, And in this one, it's more like, the bullet goes and then it drops off really fast, more like what real life is. So they're trying to find what B-Dudge said is, where's the perfect place between fun, which is arcade stuff, and then sim. I mean that loosely because sims are fun for certain people, but bringing it closer to between arcade and that, that's what I would just consider. Cool. Any closing thoughts on what Battlefield thing we should also have in the next Battlefield from BF1 before we move on to the next segment? Listener mail.
No, I think I'm good.
Good.
I don't know. I mean, I like Battlefield 1. I think there's some good stuff there, and hopefully they learn, from what is good and move on. All right, guys. For those of you guys watching live right now, before we get straight to the chat session of the podcast, I will read off a couple of emails we received, and hopefully we'll answer them. Try our best to answer them. Izzy's not here. B-Dutch is going to fill in and give his opinion. Let's see. The first email we received was from Ken Otero, and it was on BF1 Gunplay. What do you think of BF1's gunplay? I see a lot of people complaining that the guns are too random if they don't take the time to learn how to handle weapons and use proper bursts to limit spread. People say it takes skill to use a gun outside their intended range like in BF4, but most of it is pretty much tap firing since the spread decrease of BF4 guns are so fast. Spread keeps guns in their intended range, and I would want to see SMG killing me at 70 meters due to 1 to 2 round taps, but that's just my opinion. What do you guys think of BF1 gunplay?
Bad. I think it's very poor because it basically strips away any component, like what he was saying. He likes to see kills at 70 meters from taps. The majority of the guns, at least 80%, you can hip fire full auto and get kills, get hit markers. Especially with LMGs that get more accurate as you're shooting. I feel like it's so easy to, like sometimes I'm running like Automatico. I'll wear a gas mask 24/7, and people are like, "Why are you wearing a gas mask?" I'm like, "Because you don't need to aim down the sights," and that's like with a lot of the guns in BF1, they're just hip fire machines. So I think it's just a very easy style of gunplay.
Yeah, in the past Battlefields, didn't they have more recoil in the guns if you shot from the hip?
Yeah, that's how it should. Yeah. You know, hip fire should always be more inaccurate. You should never want to use hip fire over ADSing. Right. In BF1, I'm always like, let me just hip fire this. It's faster. It's more accurate. Why not? So.
Well, and you lose, like, you don't go scope blind either. When you're doing that, your field of view is much larger. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that people do that. But I mean, you know, a lot of people give Battlefield Hardline a hard time, but that was a pretty decent game from a gunplay standpoint. Like, it was a fast infantry-based shooter, and I felt like there was a lot better gunplay in that regard compared to what we have with Battlefield 1. You know?
True.
Yeah, I think the gunplay is very weak for BF1.
So, I mean, to sum it up, Ken, I also, you know, agree with these guys here. The gunplay is, you know, they've made a lot of changes in BF1, but some of those changes I feel like have worked out a little bit. Like, I mean, Assault was the god kit in Battlefield 4 because as a skilled Assault player, I was able to snipe snipers, man. Just tap firing some of those Assault rifles, I was effective everywhere. I could heal, I could res, you know, I could grenade launch if I wanted to. It was just that good. Only thing I couldn't kill is tanks and planes and whatnot. I feel like Assault now is way more limited if you compare what the SMGs are like. You do kind of have to tap fire SMGs. LMGs are different, you know, like B-Dutch said. I mean, you just squeeze and keep shooting, and it just gets better and better, right? But SMGs, you kind of have to tap fire, and they have a lot of recoil. You kind of have to be good with them. Other than the Automatico, which hip fire demon, you know?
I mean, you can also do that with the MP, though. All the variants for that, you can hip fire those. And that's like the standard bread and butter for the Assault. The Hell Regal, I think, is ridiculous. What's it have, a 60 drum mag?
That's dumb.
Like that. So I think Assault actually has the strongest weapons. I think Medic has the weakest. Sniping is the easiest it's ever been in Battlefield. So I just think overall, they need to really focus on the mechanics of the game and the gunplay a little bit more before they start introducing, you know, more variables like specializations and things like that.
It's going to be hard to see because to balance the game and then balance it with specializations, there's going to be a lot of factors.
Yes.
It's going to be
That's
hard.
why I'm not on board with specializations. It's just it's not the right time. I think they're good, just it's not the right time. They need to address other things first.
Random curiosity. Do you guys think it's better to maybe have 2 perks on rather than 3?
I have no idea. I got to see how they actually work. But yeah.
I mean,
maybe 3 might be a lot.
That would reduce the, you know, like B-Dutch was saying, the RNG of everything. At least you've only got 2 variables to account for there. It's like, oh, they could be running this or this, not this or this or this. So it's going to be a little bit more predictable. You know, I've always liked the idea of perks because it gives you more control over how you play the game. Granted, I don't play it to exploit certain things, which obviously people are going to do with some of those perks, which is why I'm glad that they're on the CTE right now. But no, I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea either.
Cool, Ken. Thank you so much for that email. We have another one more question before we open up the forum to the chat. Remember, if you're going to be asking us a question in the chat, you're going to have to hit @crew, CREW, if you want to ask all of us. Or if you want a specific question to one of the members here on the podcast, you just add the name that you see right here. So prep your questions. In just a minute, we're going to answer this one more email, and then we'll get straight to the open live segment. So Ike Perez wrote in, this question is for all of you. The YouTuber Lossy came across French Battlefield 1 game cover art that was different. This version of the game comes with a base game and premium pass for 60 euros. I'm thinking they're going to completely change premium pass. What do you guys think?
If they were smart, they would. They will. Or they would have never gone with it in the first place.
Oh, okay. So let me explain that. Yeah, maybe if you haven't seen that, B-Dutch. So what Ike Perez is saying, there was a cover art for a Battlefield title, BF1 version, which basically said it's called the Revolution, I believe. And what it does is it bundles the game and premium for one price, 60 euros. Which I imagine they probably try to pull off $60 in the US.
Right. So that's like $90
more. Yeah.
So ultimately, the game's been out half a year or so, right? And so ultimately, it's a way to save money and bundle everything together. So and to ensure that if you're going to make the purchase, you get everything on the Battlefield. I don't think that's a bad idea.
I think it's the way it should be. I think the way that their pricing is established right now, they're gouging their consumers. I think it's a lot of money up front, especially if you want to get it on multiple platforms. It's, what is it, like 120? You're going to be like paying over like $250 essentially if you want to get it on multiple platforms just to play the game at its fullest. But I think that's something entirely different. But yeah, I think it's the $30 for standard and premium. I think would be great, but I don't think we're gonna be getting that.
Well, we're gonna get that probably at Gamescom. They're probably gonna save that as a reveal, like, hey guys, now you can get for $60 the full version of Battlefield. That's cool. I however worry about what about all the people who already bought the game. Premium pass is still gonna be $50 separately, right? I don't imagine they're gonna discount that.
Well, it depends on if they change the way that premium works, and
Can they
I
do
think
that?
I don't know, but certainly the way that they're doing this, where if they're going to sell the base game and premium for the $60 price, they're looking at it and saying, okay, if somebody goes out and buys Battlefield, we want to make sure that not only do they play it, but that they help populate the servers that have the premium content, which, you know, remains one of the bigger issues with Battlefield 1, so certainly they want to do it that way. The other thing, and you might say, oh, well, you know, that's a good deal, $60 for premium and for the base game. We also have to take into account that Battlefield 1 just hit the EA Vault and for EA Access and for Origin Access. I believe it's on Origin Access now. So that's like, you know, I have an EA Access subscription, and I have since it came out, but it's like it's $30 a year for me to, you know, like get whatever in there, and you know, so
all you can play. For those of you guys who don't know, these are like subscription services to EA, and you get their Vault games, play as much as you like, you know. So BF1 is now in the Vault, which means that you can access it. In the Vault, that means just the base game, right? Not the premium version.
Correct, just the base game. But I'm saying that, you know, by doing that, it kind of decreases the core value of just the game as a standalone.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of things to look at. I still would like to see Battlefield maybe go the route more that Rainbow Six Siege is doing, where premium gets you early access to things. I mean, certainly you can see with all the comments about console people being upset that they don't have the latest maps and the latest guns on the CTE. Early access is a priority for a lot of people, and I think that they would certainly appreciate that. But I don't know.
Yeah. Mambo, did you want to just comment on Ike Perez's question, just about
Yeah, I
the whole
I
bundle?
think the whole maps behind the paywall. We've talked about it in the past podcasts. That's a no-win in my book. I like the idea behind what Ubisoft was doing with Rainbow Six, and of course EA's dabbled with it with Titanfall, with the upcoming Battlefront 2. They need to copy that over to the Battlefield franchise. They're not going to lose their money. They could easily do skins, knives like CS:GO, and make it limited. This is the only time you can get this knife ever in Battlefield 1. People will go crazy playing your game that weekend that there's a special knife that will never be released again in the game. You'll get so many people coming and play your game because they're going to be like, whoa,
Cool.
There's a knife that I'm never going to be able to get ever again if I don't go play this weekend. They're going to go out and play. So they can easily do that, but make the maps. Man, we've talked about it till we're blue in the face. So is the YouTubers. You know, all the big YouTubers, Jack Frags, and everybody say, hey, let's get rid of the maps behind the paywall. Let's go ahead and that's my 2 cents.
Awesome.
There's definitely a reason why you have these free-to-play games that are so incredibly successful. It's because it has, it's a free entry point. You go in and you can play. The reason why they can sustain themselves is because of the microtransactions. But you have to be careful with that because it has to be cosmetic. If you introduce microtransactions that aren't cosmetic, like in Battlefront 2, which I'm going to be interested to see, that's where you get the pay-to-win thing. So I think that's a good model, having just the standard, and then the DLC could be free. You have microtransactions, but it has to be just cosmetics.
See, we say this though,
right?
But look at what the last Call of Duty did. Like, Call of Duty not only had basically the premium style subscription, they did that. They had their microtransactions with their supply drops, and they put weapons inside the microtransactions.
So they pay to win, their microtransactioning, and their premium walling.
And they still made how many millions of dollars off of that?
Look, I'm sorry to whoever's watching right now. Hold on, because you can't look at the Call of Duty franchise because the player base for that game very questionable. Like, at what point I'm a fan of Battlefield and I'd be like, nah, I'm sorry guys, that's a bit much.
Yeah, that's where you have to look at. That's what, like, I'm talking about price gouging. I think a lot of these corporations are not taking the consumer into mind, and it's like, how can we make more money off of them?
Right.
So
I think EA is straddling that, but EA is really big, and of course they're trying to make money, and they're looking at Activision like, oh my god, they can do all of this, and the kids will pay for it.
And
so
why
they're
do we
like,
get
look at all
labeled
the
the
money we're
worst
missing
company
out.
in US? Yeah.
And they shouldn't be thinking that.
We sit here and we talk about this stuff, and it's like Activision just went and like did all of the things that we hate and complain about all the time, and people were like, oh, I hate it, but not that much.
Yeah, it's, as a consumer, you speak with your wallet. So if you're buying the content, of course they're going to continue to do that. So
I think Battlefield community, the player base for Battlefield, a little bit more intelligent, so they're making more wise choices. Whereas Call of Duty is a little bit more impulsive community.
Spontaneous,
so they're making all the wrong choices. And I think that's going to happen to Destiny as well. And Activision loves to cater to these kids, because I think Destiny's going to have a lot of this weird content you can pay for and lots of different paywalls and all this secondary DLC and all this stuff. It's going to be a money cow. Activision is just a big money cow company.
I think B-Dutch has a point with Battlefront 2, though, and hopefully, Battlefield will learn the lessons that we're obviously going to see with Battlefront. Like, there's going to be a lot of discussion about how the game works and if it's pay to win and what's acceptable and what's not. And hopefully, hopefully they'll let Battlefront 2 learn the lessons, and then when it comes time to roll around to the next Battlefield, we'll look at them and say, all right, they got a good system here. They got everything figured out. I'm okay getting behind this.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
You know what? It's funny that you do say that, Flak, because it's interesting that I can see from the outside perspective. I see like EA is kind of testing the waters, with this whole thing. With Titanfall, they tested what if it would be like if it was all free. With Battlefront, they're testing, what if it would be like a little bit of, pay to win, a little bit, just on top, And
So bad.
And so
That's
when
so
the
bad.
next Battlefield game, they're gonna look at Titanfall, they're gonna look at Battlefront, and literally what the people decided, they're probably gonna put in. So if like Titanfall kind of flopped in a way, and Battlefront does well, even though these microtransactions are in there, I would not be surprised if the next Battlefield will have something similar, based
Definitely.
on just the data, hard data.
Right, because the timing that they released Titanfall, I think, was more detrimental to Titanfall than this whole free map, no maps behind DLC issue. They can't really give a true test on one of their main franchises. Titanfall was kind of like not necessarily one of their main franchises, one of their new IPs. Now they're pulling in a heavy hitter AAA title as Star Wars and saying, now we'll really test the system before we bring it to our bread and butters, FIFA or Battlefield,
Yep.
So.
And I don't think like a publisher like EA, someone who's that big, like they don't have to test the water. They can dictate kind of how things go because they're so big. So it's not like, I don't think they're looking at Respawn with Titanfall and it's like, well, the free DLC model didn't really work, so let's try microtransactions. They're doing it more because it's like, hey, we can make money off of this. It's not like, hey, maybe this will be better for sales. They know their sales are going to be good. So it's,
Okay.
It's
right.
not-
Yeah.
You build it, they will come. Right.
Yeah, they're not testing anything. They know what they're doing,
It makes sense, at the business perspective. All right, guys, we're gonna open up the forum for a few more questions from the live audience. Thank you guys for emailing us. I believe it was Ken and Ike. Appreciate the emails. I do see another email there from someone who just kind of emailed us as I mentioned this. We will read it off
Rip.
next podcast.
Yeah.
Right. So that's it for the mail segment. Appreciate it. Remember, again, the email is the Let's Talk Podcast at gmail.com. If you're watching the recording on YouTube or iTunes, make sure you email us there. So now, straight to the chat session. Best part of the podcast. You guys hear 140 of you live watching this discussion. What do you guys think? What did you guys take away from the conversation? Did you have something else to say? And I see the first comment. I'm gonna try to read. I just see dogs2_245 says, at Crew, do you think EA is going back to a BF3, BF4 style game and also change to a better community interaction, better PR manager? I think the PR managers they have now are great. Those guys are fun and they're in tune with the community. I don't think that's the issue. Jeff Braddock does a great job. Dan Mitri, awesome. If you guys ever watch their streams on the Battlefield channel, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the issue with that. I think the issue lies in the way Battlefield is constructed for the long run.
Yeah.
And I really hope that they learn from some of the mistakes with this and are able to, kind of construct something that has more legs on it.
Do you think it's going to be BF3, BF4-esque? That's what Dogs wants to know. I think so. I think it's going to be modern.
I think
anything that's more modern than World War I is going to have weapon attachments.
It's certainly, I think, going to play probably a bit more like that because so many people have come out saying, we want more of this kind of mechanic or we want this to go. But, as much as I love Battlefield, when I look at it, I say there's so much stuff here that is just like really surface stuff. There's no like deep progression to things. There's no reason to, keep going to do things. By the time I hit level 30, it was like, well, I've pretty much done everything there is to do. So now I just play because I enjoy the gameplay in it. But there's not much else outside of that to really unlock or to work towards. And I would really like to see more of that in the next Battlefield. However they want to do it is up to them. It's just something that it's like, you can kind of tell playing Battlefield that it's like, they were like, okay, this is going to be great at launch, and then we'll figure out a lot of this other stuff down the road. It's kind of what it feels like to me.
Okay.
But
I think we had just Flax, since you're still on the topic there. We have VW asking you if you ever consider streaming on Twitch.
I do actually have a Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Flakfire, and I am going to stream more often on Twitch. It's just a matter of if I have time to do it. Like, I work 2 jobs basically, and then have to do YouTube, so time is somewhat of a precious element there. So I would like to, I plan to, and if I do, I'll put a note on Twitch or on Twitter that says, hey, I'm streaming. And most of the times when I do, it's in the morning before I go to work.
I think it goes
Remove
without
social
saying,
life,
guys,
remove sleep, insert Twitch. You're good.
Yeah, right. I think it goes without saying, guys, if you don't already follow us on our Twitter handles, that's the best way to kind of reach out what exactly we're doing across our other medias. It's the easiest way. I think all of us use it here, and you can communicate with us that way for those like changes that if we're making YouTube videos in any case, or streaming. I do have another question for the whole cast, and it was from Burning Broadcast. But wait a minute, where was it? There it is. At Crew, what do you guys think about the idea of Battlefield franchise going free to play entirely as an entry point and making money another way? Is that possible?
Sure. With microtransactions, it's like what I was saying with League of Legends. That's, you have all these massively successful free-to-play games.
Is League
that are
free
just,
to play?
Yeah, they're all, a lot of those games are all free to play, and then they make all their money from microtransactions, from skins and things like that. I don't know if that's something we'll ever see, but
let me ask you guys this.
Possible.
I have no idea about League at all, and B-Dutch, if you know, is League published by a big company, or was it just like a small people trying to throw it out there and, you know,
I don't know the
something
publisher. I know Riot Games was fairly small when it started, but I don't know who
See, I get
published
the feeling that
game.
these free-to-play projects come from companies who are taking big risks because they're so small and they're just shooting at it. You know what I mean? When you have a big company like Ubisoft, you got a big company like EA, there's, you know, paychecks that need to be paid. These companies are making safer approaches to making video games, aka buy this game, we can pay for all of our staff this way, and, you know, moving forward we'll think of something, you know. I don't really think that big companies like Activision and EA and Ubisoft are in the business to be making free-to-play games and hoping that they catch on.
Is Planet Side
Too much
2 a
risk.
free-to-play game?
Yeah.
Planet
I don't
Side
think
2?
it was
But
initially,
who
but now it is
developed
free to
that?
play.
See, that's what I'd be interested in. Who published and developed it? Who published it? That's what's most important usually with these cases.
The thing about, you know, something like Battlefield going free to play, I really don't like it when things go entirely free to play. Not because, you know, they can't be good or anything. You know, of course they can, but the issue is generally, and B-Dutch hit it right on the head, that when things go free to play, they need to make money somehow, and they're gonna make it through microtransactions. And a lot of times when they do that, you know, you buy the microtransactions because you have no other choice if you want to remain competitive. Mm-hmm. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to something where it's like, okay, the base game is you know, $40, and then, you know, if you want to get some of this other stuff as a microtransaction down the road, then you can.
Lawbreakers just did that. Lawbreakers said base game is $30 and it's online only. And then they were like, there's microtransactions and there's some customizable
PUBG
stuff
is
you
that
can
way, isn't it?
buy for $40.
Players Unknown Battlegrounds, same way, $30, and then
PUBG is doing something I don't like as a trend in a video game thing. They're selling you early access to the game where it's not 100% developed.
Right.
Oh, that's just early access, though. That's not PUBG.
Yeah,
That started with DayZ, man. Like, that was DayZ standalone started that whole trend where you have early access, which is quality assurance. People should be testing that, should be beta and stress testing it.
Yeah, but
they would have to pay
like
them.
A game, you know,
Now they're getting paid to have their game beta tested. So I think the whole early access thing is not.
That's like
PUBG's
saying
fault.
pay
yeah,
for CTE only, right?
Yeah, that's
it's
something
a
completely
trend
different.
I don't like. Looking at Ark, you know, you're looking at all these games. I understand, like, it's hard to say. I don't like that trend. I like to get games fully developed, fully tested, and then I pay my money for it, and then I play it. I don't have any issues. Rather than, oh, you know, we're gonna develop this game as we go, and you're gonna pay us now, and
Right,
yeah,
we got some
I
really good
promise.
developers. But
I promise
need to
it's
pay
gonna
their
get better.
paychecks.
I
Right.
promise, man.
The days of the days of having a fully finished product shipped to you and everything on your disc is that like DLC didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
The days
Right.
of that's over. So now,
Super
as long as
Mario.
we have
Nintendo's
hot
the
fixes
only one
or
trying
patches,
that still.
like, dude, we're gonna hear day one patches all like forever. You know, the
Right.
game's coming out, but we'll have a day one patch to fix whatever's wrong. So it's just, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but you know,
So-
then you get also like I just recently picked up No Man's Sky because of 1.3 patch, but this is like a full like months later, almost a year later, that the game actually is what it should have been when it first, you know, came out. But those guys kind of lied and said this was a full game, $60. You know,
Yeah.
where they should have said this is early access. I guess in its own right. I'm not a fan of it, but I understand that, you're paying for early access. At least they tell you, look, guys, it's not finished. We're working on it, rather than lying to you and saying, hey, buy it for 60. Oh, don't worry, we'll patch that. It's crazy. Do we have a question
last
from
question?
the audience, at least? So a Burning Broadcast just told me that Sony Online developed and published PlanetSide 2.
Okay.
Interesting. Maybe
SOE.
it's a project of
Gotcha.
Sony just working on stuff like that. B-Dutch, we have a request for you to speak in an Addy voice for the rest of the podcast.
I don't know if you want that.
I don't. What is this?
No, it's a character that I created for GTA RP. I don't know if you guys ever like dabbled with
no,
that.
I never played roleplay GTA.
Yeah, but it's just like a voice that I do. So I don't know if you want that.
You have to tune into B Dutch's live stream to catch that, guys.
That's right.
It's not really Battlefield-esque.
If we have a PC Battlefield, console Battlefield, your opinion? PC Battlefield or console Battlefield? My opinion. There's a question for me from Greg from Twitch. Greg, I would say console because I like the community and it's a little bit more chill. More people to play. On Battlefield, the PC community is quite small.
You got too many options on PC.
All I can say is try reading the chat sometime in PC games, and you will want to either throw up or gouge your eyes out.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like,
that
it is
bad?
terrible. It is offensive. Like, to the point where, like, I'm not easily offended by things. Most of the time I don't care, but I'm like, really? Like, you would actually say something like that to somebody?
Yeah, that's the internet. Give somebody anonymity, and they'll say whatever they want.
It is horrible.
Kaufman,
Yeah.
your question about premium or microtransaction, we kind of went over it in depth this podcast. So, yeah, we just kind of would like to see microtransactions as a whole. PC community feels good, man. I think we have time for one last question, guys. Make it a good one, and then we're going to sign off for this episode. I gotta say, B-Dutch, thank you for joining us, man. It's been nice having
dude.
you on here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's always good. I think community is so important for a game in Battlefield. You guys are really doing something good to foster a community and bring people together. So it's not just a bunch of people running around being toxic. Because that's the backbone of a game is the community. So you guys are really doing some good stuff.
Well,
Well, you're a part of that, B.
Do you want to? I guess they don't have a question for us Battlefield specific, but there is a question in there. Poppin' Buckets wants to know, what is your favorite pizza topping?
Just one or like type of pizza?
I don't know,
think two.
man.
I'm a big fan of the
How
Hawaiian
many perks
pizza.
do you have on your pizza, man?
Yes.
I go all out. When it comes to pizza, I will go all out when it comes to toppings. But I'm a big fan of the Hawaiian. I've said this on my stream. A lot of people dance game me for it, but it's the contrast of sweet from the pineapple and the salty from the ham. It's just bada boom. It's delicious.
That's not bad. It's
Yeah.
not bad at all.
I'm with
You know
B-Dutch
what I
on that.
like? I like ranch.
100%.
Have you ever had like a ranch and chicken?
Oh yeah, like chicken bacon ranch pizza.
Yeah. Junk is awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We're getting artisan over here, man.
I just like to get my pizza delivered. I had a bad incident.
Who cares what's on the pizza? Just deliver it.
True.
I didn't get my pizza yesterday. They stood me up.
What?
That's the worst.
Yeah.
And
I know
is this
everybody's gonna
United
be
States of
cracking up.
America?
It's a crime.
It is
I
a
want a free
crime.
pizza. Papa John's screwed me over yesterday.
The Big Papa?
Freaking Papa.
I'm gonna have to call him.
Never
Papa. He
trust
strikes
somebody
again.
named Papa. Like he
I'm gonna
forces
have
you
to
to call
tweet
him
at him.
Papa.
Tweet at him, Mambo. Tweet at him. I didn't. It's hard
Like,
to tweet and freaking stream.
Like, what's your topping?
Oh, I'm with B Dutch, man.
Yeah, I'm
Pineapple
Hawaiian.
and pineapple and ham. That is the way to go.
Cool.
I go pepperoni with the pineapple. Same kind of concept.
I like it. Yeah.
I always do the pepperoni with the pineapple.
Yeah, you get a little spice in there, though. A little spiciness. It's good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Flavor.
And with that, guys, I would say this episode of Let's Talk Battlefield is coming to a close. Thank you guys so much for tuning in live and for watching the recording. Appreciate it. This community means a lot to all of us. We're all Battlefield fans and players. Love this game and want to make it better. With that being said, let's go through quick sign-offs, and then I'll tell you guys a little bit stuff at the end. So, Flak, tell them where they can find you when you're not here on this podcast.
Right. Okay. When I'm not here, I'm on YouTube at youtube.com/FlakFireGaming. Cover pretty much everything you can think of, but kind of always with some kind of historical twist to it. There's also twitch.tv/Flakfire and twitter.com/FlakFireGaming. It's not at Flakfire because that's some random Korean dude. So if you want to confuse him, you can do that. But
Go follow the random Korean dude.
Yeah, the North Koreans.
don't do it. We can't get into that. Mambo B, let's tell them where they can find you on your sign off.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in to episode, was it 16 of
16, bro. Can you believe it?
Yeah, that's very nice. And as you guys can attest, we've all gotten a little charisma and working together. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can find me on youtube.com/C/Mr. Mambo B or at twitch.tv/Mambo_B. Thanks for tuning in.
Awesome. And our special guest today, B Dutch, where can they find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/BDutch or on Twitter, BDutch26. It's BDUTCH. And yeah, thank you guys for having me on here. It was a lot of fun.
B Dutch, is there a story about why you're the 26th B Dutch? Like Flak? He has a Korean guy who stole
No,
his name?
yeah, it's everybody asked that like where's B Dutch 1 through 25? Like 26 is just it's my lucky number. It was the day I was born on the 26th. So that's all it is. But everyone's like, so what was like 1 through 25 taken? And I'm like, no, it still wasn't. It's just it's my jam right there.
All right, cool. And I'm your host, Echo Limits. That's spelled EKOLIMITS. You can find me on Twitch by searching that, YouTube, and on my Twitter. That's the best place to talk to me when I'm not live or hanging out with these guys. I want to say thank you for everyone who's tuned in. I really appreciate you all coming through. Next episode in 2 weeks. Hopefully we will have that new map, right?
Yeah.
That'll probably happen. Thank you for watching. Thumbs up, guys. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you later.